Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another round of the Team Up Racing 2020 Championship. I'm Peter Butcher. I'm joined again by Jack Eyre. Hi, Jack.
Hello there, Pete. Hello, everybody watching. I think we're just in time for qualifying to start as well, so welcome along to round 27 of the Team Not Racing Championship. Today we are at Aston National. 9 corners, 5.6 kilometres, 3.5 miles. And I think I'm right in saying it's the most popular track configuration in Aston.
Not just Aston, Jack. It's the most popular combination in S2, bar Blackwood, obviously.
Blackwood being demo content. So, yeah, very, very popular track. We are in the RAC today, the race about. The mid-engined rear-wheel drive 2-litre turbocharged inline 4-cylinder with a massive 245 brake horsepower, but it weighs 800 kilograms. So, very fun car to drive, very fun road car.
Yeah, so the cars are making their way out on track.
I think we're expecting
For the
the times to be around about 2 minutes. I think the fastest time I saw in the little practice session we had before qualifying commenced was a 1:59. So whether the drivers are able to maybe improve it a little bit in qualifying trim remains to be seen. So you're looking at just over a 2-minute outlap. Got 15 or 16 minutes of qualifying. Kevin Pete currently at the front of this pack on their outlap.
Yeah, this isn't a particularly popular car. This is the most popular track, as we mentioned. In fact, I think the RAC might be one of the least popular cars for racing. So, a bit of juxtaposition here. The reason for Aston National's popularities harks back to some very old Fox leagues that used to happen here, and also not forgetting the AMG motorsport servers that used to run GTRs and GT2 around this religiously for many years. So it's racked up a lot of popularity, mainly because it's got two very long straights, some really tight and twisty chicane sections, and yeah, it's got everything you want from a fast and quick pickup track, which is great for online racing.
Yeah, a few high speed corners, a few hairpins, so it's a lot of variety in one circuit.
Yeah, it has got a lot of variety. It's a great little track. We've got just over 20 cars on track right now. Uh, most cars are starting their first flying laps. And it'll be interesting to see who the initial pace setters are in a car that really just, yeah, it's just not used by a whole load of people. And thank you to
Kevin
Tilo,
Pete,
yeah. Tilo also mentioning that Cone Dodgers was also using GTR at AS3 a lot. Sorry, you were talking about Gavin Pete.
yes, he's going to be the first person at least to cross the line to set his lap. So he's of course going to be the initial pace setter. Whether that is a lap he's happy with, of course, even if it is, he's gonna use the remaining at least 12.5 minutes now left in qualifying to improve. But hopefully he can get as close to that 2-minute mark, if not into the 1-minute 59s, as he possibly can. Quite a train of cars just behind Gavin Pete, running now through turn number 6. You can see they're all in a line. Some may benefit from that, of course. The draft is apparent in really every vehicle in Live for Speed, so you'll gain a little bit on the straights from tucking into the slipstream of the car that you're following. However, these cars, you can see really zero aerodynamics, no wing on the back, no big splitter on the front, so you won't lose out as much in the high speed corners from following another car, but you'll probably, well, the drivers, they'll feel it for sure.
Yeah, you can maybe talk us through a bit of the characteristics of this car a little bit later on, Jack. But Gavin Pete sets the initial pace, a 2-minute dead, 0.11. Here come a flurry of other times. Yeah, I'm really pleased to see a good turnout for an RAC race. We haven't seen many of them in LFS. Rick Cardle up there in P2.
Yeah, just shy of a tenth from Gavin Pete's initial lap. They'll both want to beat, getting as many attempts in as they possibly can in the remaining 11 minutes that we've got. But I think it's definitely possible for somebody to get into the 1 minute 59s. Of course, with the road cars, you find that the qualifying trim will last more than one lap, because you'll find it, at least with cars with slick tyres, the more kind of track orientated, purpose built race cars within the game will be set up in qualifying at least to run minimum tyre pressures, and maybe they're only good for a lap once you finish your flyer. The tyres are a bit hot and you won't gain from doing another one, but hopefully, guys, qualifying trim is good for a few laps. Might see a couple of attempts per run from certain people.
Absolutely, as we ride on board with Rick Cardle as he navigates the infield tight and twisty hairpin section, and something very characteristic of Aston National. He makes his way onto the back straight up towards the final hairpin. Tell us about the characteristics of the car, Jack, and how hairpins especially are very tricky in the configuration of the RAC.
Well, the RAC is not quite a conventional car. It only has one anti-roll bar, so it doesn't. Of course, it has it on the front, so there's a lack of a rear anti-roll bar, and it can make the car quite awkward to set up, because it's either, you know, understeery and safe, so to speak, or quite snappy and oversteery, and it's quite hard to find the balance, as we see Rick Cardle deep into the chicane of turn number 9, just caught the tyres on the inside of the left curb there. So unfortunately, not able to improve on his second lap, but he immediately pits. He's back out on the way to set another lap.
Yeah, it's quite a deceptive track, this. It's got a 2-minute outlap in the RAC. It might seem quite short with only 2 long straights, but it is quite long, and in such a short qualifying session, only 16 minutes here, drivers are going to have to do more than one run. So hopefully Rick Cardle can avoid the tyre stacks in the last chicane on his last few laps and see if he can get up towards Gavin Pete's provisional pole time. We're watching Yes Motorsports Trespasser. He's following a Team Up Racing car as he heads into the first part of the chicane. See the car squirreling there under brakes as he tries to slow it down.
Yeah, those front springs working incredibly hard there. You don't want to push too much understeer into the springs of the car. It tends to push too much, and you'll almost go straight on with, no matter how much lock you kind of put on the car. But you don't need to go silly with the front anti-roll bar. A healthy amount is recommended, and you've got to keep the suspension quite soft too in these cars in order for it to be somewhat drivable. It being a road car on road tyres after all. For this as well, the RAC, as far as I know, is the only real-world road car within Live for Speed. Of course, we've got the Formula BMW and the Sauber Formula 1 car from many years ago within LFS, and of course it's a Finnish concept car. It's like a prototype of a sports car, and it's actually the inline 4 turbocharged 2 litre that's in this car is a Saab engine in the real world.
Good old Saab. Here comes Trespasser out of the last chicane. He's going to set a lap time. He's currently third. He's only 3/10 off the provisional pole time, and he goes closer. Look at that. He's 200ths of a second off of Rick Cardle there as he aborts his run, and he'll get a fresh set of boots and try again. But yeah,
so
it's getting quite close to the top.
A nice improvement from Trespass, though. He'll be a bit disappointed that he wasn't just that 200ths faster. Of course, there's time to be gained really everywhere in these cars. It's quite hard to pinpoint exactly where you're fast and slow, because the car can be a handful at times. But
Born to Race Spikey just set a nice lap. He goes P2 right now, 700ths off of Gavin Pete's time. Spikey has picked and chosen a few rounds in this championship to turn up to and compete. Maybe the RAC is a car that he particularly enjoys. Speaking of people who enjoy the RAC, Jack, do you want to tell us a little bit about the series that you are lead on, your commentary for the Open Endurance Cup, which is next weekend for round 2?
Yes, we've got round 2 of the Open Endurance Cup next weekend, and it's quite a unique series because all the cars are are unrestricted. The kind of balancing done between classes, of course, is done through minimum pit stop time. So it's a great way to get involved in the cars that you like within the Live for Speed service, without having a mandatory, adding weight or intake restriction. So yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, of course, check out our calendar. There's a link just below your Twitch broadcast. There'll probably be a link in the description if you're watching this after on YouTube, and you can check out the calendar. There's links to the series websites for really every series that we cover.
Yeah, there's
Make it
currently
nice and easy for you guys to get involved, because that's what we want at the end of the day. More more cars on track just makes our job a little better.
Yeah, speaking of the cars on track, there are 21 sign-ups in the NGTR class, the UFR and XFR, and currently 5 sign-ups in the LX6, RAC and SZ5 class. So if you fancy doing some RAC or some LX6 or indeed some NGTRs, get yourself along to the Open Endurance Cup. You can sign up for that on the LFS forum. While we were chatting about the OEC, back to tonight's action at the Team Racing Championship. Energy Virtual Racing's Kaike Paroppo just did a blinder lap, set a 2-minute dead, all the zeros there, to take provisional pole away from Gavin Peat with 5 minutes remaining of qualifying. He sets off for another timed lap. And there goes Rick Cardle up to P3, and Unite
And
takes
yes,
over the lead.
Motorsport Unite, the first driver under that 2-minute barrier. But just look how close some of the times are. It's always good when the grid is not spread out by, like by a lot. There's currently 9 drivers within a second of each other. It would be 10 if Frank could improve by just a couple hundredths of a second. But yes,
Unite has
Unite,
smashed it though.
he
He's
has
absolutely
unbelievably smashed it. Everybody from Kaike Propo down to Frank, at least in 10th from second. There's only half a tenth to a tenth separating each one of them individually. And yes, Motorsports Unite just bangs it out of the park and goes 4 tenths faster than anybody.
Yeah, that's quite a margin. We don't often see margins that big, especially on a combo like this, where really you don't have many braking zones, do you? It's technical, and the car is technical. Let's not take that away from him. But yeah, the spread of times is certainly nowhere near as big as I thought it would be with the RAC. So great effort by the drivers here.
Yeah, you have to adapt the way you drive this car. You can't jump in this from, say, another similar car just because of the lack of an anti-roll bar on the rear. It makes it quite weird on the brakes. Almost acts like a front-wheel drive car on the brakes. However, of course, the driven axle in the RAC is the rear one, and the engine's at the back too. That's where all the weight is, so that it can almost feel like a front-wheel drive car. At least when you brake, the rear wants to kind of step out a bit, but there's a bit more weight on that rear axle. So you definitely have to adjust the way you drive this car, and certain drivers will click with certain car track combinations more than others. But that's the great thing about the Team Racing Championship. There's plenty of rounds that run every Tuesday really throughout the year. We're on round 27 now, and I think there's 34 in total, so plenty of different opportunities for drivers to show their kind of forte. We've had rallycross, we've had UF1s, which are the Live for Speed equivalent of a classic mini almost, and then we've had Formula Sauber races, the fastest machinery on Live for Speed, full stop, with it being an old Formula 1 car. That there's something in here for everybody, so great.
Yeah, plenty of time to sign up. Speaking of teams that have kind of honed in and competed in races that they're good at, look at Energy Virtual Racing's Marcelo Neva and Kaike Paroppo currently in P2 and P4. Gatrag just set a lap there to go P3. Now 3 drivers underneath the 1 minute 59. So you said before that we might see a few times under there, and yeah, we have.
Yeah, I think one driver got into the 59s in the practice session, but it's nice to see 3 have made it into the 59s in qualifying at least. But yes, Motorsport Unite still retains pole position at the moment, still a couple tenths clear. Neva for Energy Virtual Racing, of course, is the closest man to pole position. He will start on the front row if he doesn't get beaten in the 1 minute 40 of the qualifying session that we've got remaining.
It's getting quite bunched up. These cars will all have picked the last time to go out. They'll be on an outlap now. But yeah, they're all quite bunched up, aren't they, in the middle sector?
Yeah, just coming out of turn number 5 now, there's a train of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars. Rick Cardle being somewhere in the middle there. Now the front car, another NG Virtual Racing car, number 50. Currently not set a lap at the moment, but he leads the pack up through turn number 7 now. He'll have a shot.
Look at the gap between Trespasser and Rick Cardle, and in fact Kaike Paroppo. 3 drivers within 100th of a second, and Kaike and Trespasser tied on 2 minutes apiece. Rick is currently doing some aggressive tyre warming out of the final hairpin, and let's see what he's capable of on this final attempt that he's going to go for. I'm absolutely staggered, Jack, by how close the drivers at the top of this grid are right now.
We'll ride on board with Rick Cardle for Sidus Racing on his last attempt and a qualifying lap. 36 seconds remaining qualifying. So if you start if you cross the start finish line to start your lap, you can finish it when the timer runs out. However, you cross the start finish line after the timer has run out of time. So nice long run from the start finish line through this little right left kink, completely flat out. Now braking just where the 100-meter board is into turn number 1. It's quite a weird corner. You almost don't want to hit the apex in the middle. You want to hit a late apex. You can see we're still almost on the curb, right at the very exit of the corner. Using all the AstroTurf out onto the left now, through turn number 2. Slight kink to the right. Still full throttle, of course. About 220 kilometers an hour at this point. 5th gear. Yeah, and keep an eye on those brake markers on the right, braking just before the 100-meter board into turn number 4 now. These are the 2 slowest corners on the track. Using all the curb on the exit again, trying to get that car turned in. See the back end wants to step out. Bit of correction steering there through turn number 5, but now we've got a long run up to the double apex right-hander of, well, turn 6 and 7. They're both separate corners. I'll show you where they are in just a second, but you can see the bit of elevation change here. The track drops away from you as we run under the Intel bridge now. This is turn number 6 here. The curb on the right, run out to the left and back into the curb for number 7, trying to carry as much speed as possible, make the journey from turn 5 to turn 8 as straight as you possibly can into the 180-degree cambered right-hander that is turn number 8. We run again downhill. You can see the track drops away from you into turn number 9. Now this is going to be quite tricky because of course you want to set a car up to be as stiff as possible, and these curbs are the highest within liver speed, but they're still quite high, so might see some issues in there during the race.
Trespasser takes a late provisional pole, but will Rick Cardle beat it?
Oh, just
Only just behind. Look at how close that is. Look at the gap between P1 to P3, Jack.
Yeah, so a 159.56 from Yes Motorsport. That's Trespasser currently in provisional pole. I don't think anybody is on a lap now. I think that's it. So Trespasser will start on pole, 100th of a second behind him. We've got Sidus' Rick Cardle with 159.57, and Yes Motorsport Unite just missed out on being on the front row with his teammate by again another 100th of a second.
That's crazy. 200ths of a second between the top 3 in such an unpredictable car as well. Good effort from the guys there.
I think we've got an intense race coming up. If these guys are that close in qualifying, you can imagine they're going to be that close in the race as well.
Absolutely. So that marks the end of qualifying for round 27 of the Teamwork Racing 2020 Championship. We've got 2 10-lap races coming up for you this evening, and Yes Motorsports Trespasser seals the deal, and he takes pole position with a 1 minute 59.56. 100th of a second behind him, it's Sidus Rick Cardle. 100th behind him, it's Yes Motorsports Unite. Then it's Energy Virtual Racing's Marcelo Neva in P4, Gatrag P5, Kaike Paroppo P6, Gavin Peat for Teamwork Racing P7. Spiky, after showing good early pace, wasn't quite able to get into the 159s, and he will start race number 1 in 8th place. Then we've got Frank for Teamwork Racing in P9, Laszlo Kovac in P10, TJ for Road Appraiser rounds out, he's in P11, just outside the top 10. Yes Motorsports Gabor, haven't seen him in the championship for a while, he's in P12. Yari Katila for World Class Lions P13. Energy Virtual Racing's Arayo in P14. Race green, Redbot in P15, Kid P16, Master Race Cars Michael P17. Then the Team Racing duo of Japan and Texas P18 and 19. Team Musoini rounds out the top 20 for world-class lines. Then it's Born to Race Twin Cam in P21, TC Racing's Chris McElroy P22, and Race Green Autosports Magic rounds out our 23 qualifiers for round 27.
We'll be back with race 1 in just a second, and of course don't go anywhere after race 1's over, because race 2 is a complete reverse grid, and with the times being so close from 1st to 23rd position, only a couple seconds in it, we'll see if the top guys can fight their way through the pack in race 2. But we'll be back soon with race number 1. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the start of race number 1 here. We are almost ready to go, Jack.
We are indeed. The cars are on the grid. So yes, Motorsport Trespasser. Oh, he's actually set off early. You can see he's just in front of his grid spot there. He's got a stop-go penalty as the pole sitter.
That's a disaster for Trespasser, and he's still stationary. Oof, takes a very long time to get going.
Some potential hardware issues for our pole sitter there. He finds himself down in 9th. And a stop-go penalty for good measure. Side to Rick Cardle, meanwhile, out in the lead as we run up to turn number 1. Too wide with the S Motorsports Unite on the outside now. Again, braking just about where the 100-meter board is, still too wide. You'd think that they'd slot into single file. It's the fastest way around this corner, but you can see some struggling with the lack of heat in the tyres. Rick Cardle running slightly wide there after initially turning into the corner. And yes, Motorsports Unite and Neva for Energy Virtual Racing have made their way up into 1st and 2nd respectively, but Ricardo's still on the left of the Energy Virtual Racing car in that purple Sidus machine, and it's a left-hander coming up next for turn number 4 who's going to come out on top.
We've got Trespasser very sideways in the background there, as well as Gabor, and a bit of contact actually between some Team Racing drivers. Was that Frank?
Yeah,
It was Frank.
There was Gavin Pete also into the side of Born to Race as Spiky there. Pete up in 4th position, but still too wide in the battle for P2. Rick Cardle and is it Marcel Neva side by side through the exit of turn number 5 now. They're going to filter into single file as we run up to turn 6, 7 and 8 for the first time. 10 laps here.
Spiky and who is that? Is that Kaike Propo? Yes, it is, side by side as we run up towards the final hairpin of the lap. United's got a little bit of a gap over the two behind him as they make contact, in fact. Just caught that on the edge of shot. Marcelo Neva giving Rick Cardle all sorts of trouble, and Gavin Peak closing him down. But Rick Cardle
very close
maintains
at the
the
apex.
lead.
Through turn number 8, and of course Rick Cardle at the front of this little battle at the moment. But yes, Motorsports United just seem to be driving away, being in the clean air, not having to attack or defend. But Rick Cardle took quite a bit of curb on the right-hander there through turn number 9. It's hindered his exit a little bit. Of course, Neva aided by the draft too. They're going to be side by side across the line to complete lap number 1 of 10 here. But yes, Motorsports Unite out in the lead. Exactly a 1 second lead from Rick Cardle, who crossed the line in 2nd position. 200th of a second separated 2nd and 3rd, but Neva from 3rd at the line has now made his way in front of Rick Cardle as they run down to turn number 1. For the second time there's contact between the two in the braking zone. You can just see Rick Cardle braking ever so slightly later. There was contact, but nothing to worry about too much.
Some absolutely fantastic driving. It was a great overtake. There's a 3 wide situation going on behind. Spikey's trying to mix it with Neva's teammate. This is Kaike Propo we're watching. And in the red and white car, that's Frank for Team Racing. Frank Currently in the lead of this duel in P number 6.
You see Kaike Propo switch to the left-hand side of the track to just have a little look up the inside into turn number 4, but he's lost out quite a bit now. Spikey's got past and Kaike slots into 7th place.
Jack, we've got Rick Cardle and Marcelo Neves side by side again through the middle sector. I think the position changed once and then changed back again because Neves ahead, and not only is he ahead, he's pulled out a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, as I just saw Rick Cardle run slightly wide out of turn number 5 and he was on the AstroTurf, but as it transitioned back into the grass, he grabbed a little bit of the grass with the left rear and you can see that it unsettled the car a bit, and even Gavin Peat is closing up to the back of the number 66 Sidus car in 3rd position now, so we're going to have another battle unfolding if Rick Cardle can't bounce back from this and catch back up to Neva in P2.
Gabor's under pressure from 2 other Energy Virtual Racing drivers here. We're on board with Arajo in P number 9, the number 50 car. He's watching his teammate try to get past Gabor.
Yeah, he'll be hoping that these two don't go into turn number 9 side by side at least, because that's going to make him have to check up. Unfortunately, you can see that they slot into single file as they mount both curbs. Kaike taking quite a bit of curb again on the right hand side of turn number 9, but
Arajo's going to have a good run here.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the amount of speed that he carried through turn number 9, and he's got the draft from his teammate who chooses to go around the left, arguably where there was less room, but he remains side by side for now. He can probably grab some of Gabor's draft to help him get back.
Teammates battling is always fun, but you don't want them to come together. Wow, Arajo holding it round the... Sorry, Kaike Piroppo holding it around the outside there.
He just seemed a bit more confident, carrying a little bit more speed through the apex of turn number 1 this time around, and you can see him. Impressive move to make it around the outside, and he's made it stick.
Yeah, it's all sort of neutralised up front now. Gavin Peat is still piling on the pressure on Rick Cardle, and Rick is going to be wanting to catch up to Marcelo Neva, who goes very wide, leaves a lot of rubber on the track through the first hairpin. But yeah, Gavin is definitely closing up on the back of Rick's RAC now.
Gary Catilla looking at the rear of Juban's car in the battle for 10th position. These two are quite close on track. 2 at the moment. Juban running quite wide on the exit. Doesn't grab the grass, but hovers over the inside pretty early now. They're side by side in the battle for 10th position now.
Yeah, Yari Catilla driving for World Class Lines in the distinct black and yellow machine. Juban, who we're used to seeing up in the front, is trying to stay inside the top 10 right now.
Yeah, Getrag's catching up to the back of the pair now. You can see it's going to be a 3-way battle. The two abreast on the exit of turn number 8, running down to turn number 9, and again they want to filter into single file at least to come through here. Gary Catilla, he did lift early. I think he wanted to slot in behind Juban, but I think they both had the same idea, and you can just see how much slower that's made them through turn number 9. Juban on the grass on the outside there, and Getrag takes the positions away from both of them. So Getrag from P11, or P12, sorry, up to P10 now. So
yeah, that was opportunistic, wasn't it?
It was indeed, but our race leader currently, the fastest man on track by some margin.
We missed an overtake. Well, it's not an overtake yet, is it? Because Rick Cardle's still on the outside of Gavin Peat, but Gavin Peat has a better line, has better traction. Rick's losing the rear. They're going to be side by side under the bridge.
Gavin Peat 4/10 faster than Rick Cardle last time around, but Yes Motorsports unite out in the lead. The fastest man in all sectors. That's the fastest lap of the race too, and by about 0.8 of a second a lap it's looking. These two very, very close on the way into turn number 4. You can see Gavin Peat attempting the switchback. We'll put him on the outside as they make contact on the way out of turn number 4. Can he attempt the switchback again? You can see he wants to hit that late apex to get him on the power early, and they still remain side by side. The 2 switchbacks in 2 corners, turn 4 and 5. They're going to remain side by side. My money's on Gavin Peat for this one. We've got 2 right-handers coming up before turn number 8, which is again another right-hander. If Rick Cardle can strategically lift and tuck into the back of Gavin Peat, he might be able to time a run into turn number 8, the long 180-degree cambered right-hander that we've got coming up at the end of this straight. Cardle braked a little bit earlier than Gavin Peat. Gavin Peat a little deep. You can see he's about a metre away from the apex. Rick Cardle a little tighter through turn number 8. but nothing he can do. Still staring at the back of the Team Rock Racing car that remains in third. This is the battle for the last spot on the podium, Pete. And of course, we're on lap 4 of 10. Plenty of time for these guys to fight it out. But whatever they do, Marcel Nievert for Energy Virtual Racing in P2 and Yes Motorsports Unite in P1 just going to drive away from the pair.
Side by side they are across the line as we begin lap 5. Unite has quite a gap over Neva, and Neva has a gap over these two as they still go at it. They've got a little bit of breathing room to Frank behind, but they haven't got endless time. They need to get themselves sorted out. They need to get themselves into an order where they can stop battling and try and catch up with the guys ahead, because based on their qualifying pace, they should be able to.
Yeah, the gap at the line from Frank to the battling pair in P3 and 4 was about 1.3 seconds. It's going to be around about 1 second now. They've lost at least 3
Oh,
tenths
got a
of
car
second.
off, Jack. Yari Katilla in the wall out of turn number 1. I guess he either lost it on his own or there was contact. I can't quite be sure, but what I do know is that Jaban and Redbot were very close together when I spotted the incident. Those two are side by side currently in P number 11 and 12. What's happening up front, Jack? Are we good? Because there's a three wide situation here now. That's Kid in the what's that? Is that like a Pagani Zonda replica? Yeah. It's all going off in the midfield.
Replica. There's a few replicas as well. I think I've seen a Mercedes skin on one of these, whether that's an SLR or something, I'm not sure. But the closest battle on track at the moment is this battle you're seeing right now with TJ, Redbot and Kid. They're 3 wide now, running up to turn 6 and 7. Rick Cardle and Gavin Peet are also side by side. There's contact between Rick Cardle and Gavin Peet. Rick Cardle into the wall now. We just caught that on stream at the last minute. Rick Cardle off into the, well, it's tarmac over there in turn 8 on the outside, but he's going to lose out on quite a few positions. Gavin Peet able to kind of get away with that and hold 3rd position. Frank still has a little bit of a gap to Gavin Peet, but Rick Cardle down in 8th now behind Kaike Propo.
Yeah, that seemed like a little bit of unnecessary contact. There was no need to be that close together on that straight. Just leave each other a bit of room. It's a long race, even though it doesn't seem like it. These are still 15 to 20 minute races. Yeah, that's a big
It was right on the brakes as well into turn number 8, where all the weight of the car goes to the front. That rear axle almost tries to lift up off the floor, and some contact between the two. And you can just see the back end having really no traction, no weight, because they were braking. Unfortunately, just went round for Rick Cardle. He clouted the barrier and was off. But at least he's in P number 8. He has got quite a few seconds to catch up to where he was before, but he's definitely got the pace. So hopefully he can make his way back up to at least P5 in the 4 laps.
TJ's dropped it
at the end.
TJ's dropped it at T1. I saw him tumbling down the list, and it looks like Redbot's also off. So whether there was contact again between some drivers, I do not know, but it seems like everything's going off in the midfield.
Yeah, Spikey and Gabor now. The battle for P5. Just coming out of turn 4 into 5 now. They're going to be, again, side by side at the apex. Spikey chose to rip the handbrake at the apex of the corner to try and get that rear end around.
This is a long straight
he's got traction though. Yeah, of course, locking that rear axle, you can get away with doing that in a front-wheel drive car because you can keep the power down almost, whereas the driven axle is the one that he locked up. He's lost out a little bit, but you can see he's carrying a bit more speed through the apex of 6 and 7 now, and the added little benefit of the draft from Gabor means he's going to close the gap before we get to the braking zone for turn number 8. You can see, he's going in very deep. There was almost contact between the two. Spikey choosing not to turn in as early, runs a bit wide and loses 2 positions, 1 to Kaike Propo. He's not quite lost out to Rick Cardle just yet. They were side by side on the exit. Spikey's going to be in front for the chicane of turn 9, but it's all about the run now. Carry as much speed as you possibly can through turn 9 and get your foot down. Rick Cardle dropping back just a bit. Not the greatest exit from the Sidus driver.
Michael's had a
bit too far away to grab the upstream of the car ahead, so it's going to be another battle between Rick Cardle and Spikey.
Michael Malik had a spin up at the final hairpin, but we're back on the action at the front. Trespasser's down in 22nd position now, Jack.
He is indeed. He's just moved up to 21st because Michael's having a few more issues down at the chicane. He's back going again, though.
He must have served his stop go, that's why. Obviously he got that jump start, didn't he? So that's why he's so far down.
Yeah, 36 seconds off the lead is Yes Motorsports Trespasser. Unfortunate for him, he's down 20 positions from where he started. Our pole sitter. Still not got the fastest lap of the race though.
Team Up Racing Frank is about to be under pressure from Kaike Propo once again. Frank in quite a good position right now. He'll want to keep that as Propo locks up massively, and you just see the smoke coming off the front wheels of that RAC. And yeah, he's under pressure from Spiky now.
Yeah, Kaike definitely suffering with the heat in his tyres. I'm just looking at the graph that I've got on my screen right now. The inside of his front right's locking up, so he's definitely grabbing that, and the inside of both rear tyres are red in colour, which means he's overheating those, as Rick Cardle and Spiky are side by side now. Spiky may be caught napping on the exit of turn number 5 now as we run up. The double right-hander 6 and 7. Rick Cardle has the position, moves up into 7th place after dropping back a few after the contact.
Yeah, he went for a similar move alongside Spiky.
Kaike Propo.
Yeah, good
very
move
deep. I think Kaike's going to have the position into turn number 9. Of course, he's just ahead and on the inside line, but Kaike being caught out by the temperature in his tyres, he's going to struggle through turn number 9 as well if he can't get the power down. And the more you light the rear tyres up, or the more you light any tyres up that are already overheating, you're just going to make them worse. Rick Cardle, nice and comfortable. His tyres look pretty healthy. Spiky's going to pull out alongside him as they both try to catch up to the Energy Virtual Racing car of Kaike Propo in P number 6. But Rick Cardle definitely showed he had pace. He was further up the field earlier, of course, before the contact just a few laps ago. But in terms of times, nobody's able to get near Yes Motorsports Unite out in the lead at the moment. He holds the fastest split 1 and 2 and the fastest lap, of course. 2.89 seconds out in the lead from Neva for Energy Virtual Racing in P2.
Spiky's under pressure again from Getrag. Getrag's had a bit of an up and down race, but he's currently inside the top 10 in P9. Spiky and Rick are going at it again.
These two are going to be side by side, if not 3 wide. You can see Getrag late on the brakes, sees that inside line, the door is open, makes the move, and Rick Cardle struggling with the grip. There was no contact there. It was very, very close at the apex of turn 4. As we run through turn 5 now, it's all about the run now. Getting the power down. Rick Cardle, a bit easier on the power there, able to transmit the kind of power down to the tarmac and get himself the run that he needs. He's going to pull out to the left of Getrag now. We've got a double right-hander coming up. He needs to keep as much momentum as he possibly can if he's going to try and make a move around the outside. Of course, a longer way around. Don't think he's going to get the overlap done by the corner, but there's a little bit of a lift from Getrag there as not to get into the side of Rick Cardle. You can see just how close they were with that shot there. Rick Cardle a bit deep into turn number 8 on the exit. They're very close again, but Rick Cardle has the move done. Brilliant driving from the two of them to leave racing room. Rick Cardle up to 7th now.
I am absolutely staggered that we saw a 3 wide overtake into the first hairpin with no contact. Great respect between these drivers, fantastic racing. And I'll be honest, Jack, I didn't expect to see such close racing between RACs. I know it's a track that lends itself to door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel racing because of the 2 long straights, but what a treat we're being given here.
Yeah, we were commenting on how popular Aston National is as a track and how unpopular, at least for racing, the RAC or the Raceabout is, which is the car we're using today. And I'm really surprised because it looks so fun. It looks like they're able to, get as much out of the car. And they're all very, very close, and it makes great racing. I'm really surprised this isn't a more popular car.
I wouldn't go that far, but after today, maybe some of the drivers might agree or disagree with you. It does look like they're having to work quite hard to put on this show for us.
Nobody enjoys racing cars just because they're easy to drive, the way I see it. But again, you wouldn't want a massive challenge. As Kaike Propo, I think there's been some contact between him and another driver out on the exit of turn number 4. He drops down to 9th now as he rejoins the racing line. Can't tell if he just went quite deep and had to recover or whether maybe some contact forced him out wide. He's able to regroup, finds himself in 9th position though, but struggling massively with the temperature on the inside of his rear tyres. Of course, the inside of his tyres, the first bit of the tyre to heat up just because of the camber that he's running on the rear there. Might want to adjust his setup, take some camber out, maybe add some pressure, do something to kind of get himself a bit of longevity, because there's a 10-lap race coming up just after this one. He's going to want to get to the end with the competitive cars. Rick Cardle's now fighting with Frank in turn number 8, makes the move at the apex, gets the exit that he needs, and there's still time, of course. When we cross the line, we'll start the very final lap of the race, and Gabor's not far up the road from Rick Cardle. Rick Cardle last time was faster than Gabor and was still battling as Frank cuts a little bit of turn number 9 on the exit, but runs into the back of Rick Cardle before he can pull alongside. His momentum somewhat stalled due to that contact. They're still going to remain side by side. That was a personal best from Rick Cardle. Yes Motorsport Gabor last time around, a 2-minute 1.93. Rick Cardle, who's just 4/10 back, fighting with Frank now, a 2-minute 0.4, so almost a second and a half faster than the car ahead of these two. Rick Cardle has the pace to take them both away.
Look at the angle that Frank's having to
Yeah.
put on that RAC just to keep it in a straight line. Unbelievable.
Look at Getrag, the door's open. The door's open. He's going to take the position from both of them. Frank out on the grass on the outside, just taking a bit of that AstroTurf too much, and
So
Frank's still
Getrag
sideways.
making a lot of use of these 3 wide situations. That's the second time we've seen him do that this race, and he's up to P5.
Well, I always said that unless you're in the battle, you always love to see cars battling, because whether you're in front or behind, they're going to be slower. Whereas Rick Cardle very deep into turn number 4. There is slight contact between the two, but I think Gabor's suffering with the same issue that a few other drivers are, and that's just the temperature of the tyres, whereas Rick Cardle's nice and healthy, and so is Getrag.
Great racing.
Getrag, the healthiest tyres of the two at the moment. Gabor definitely struggling with the temperature on the rear. He's going to be mugged by both of these before the lap's over, the way it's going, but can Rick Cardle get close enough to kind of get that position away from Gabor and potentially attack Getrag as well before the checkered flag? We're going to be almost 3 wide, I think. Rick Cardle thinks better of it as Getrag runs slightly wide out of turn 6, in between 6 and 7 there, just catching the grass, but remains at the head of this pack.
Yeah, Getrag is on an absolute roll here. Just swamped straight past Rick Cardle, straight past Spikey, and straight past Kevin Pete on his way to the win.
This is Rick Cardle's last attempt.
Sorry, yes, United's crossing the line. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to cross the line. We're going to have to jump to the front, unfortunately. Fantastic win and the fastest lap for him. Second position goes to Marcel Neva for Energy Virtual Racing. Third is Kevin Pete, but let's switch back. Cross the line. Getrag, Gabor, and Rick Cardle. Rick Cardle not able to get past Gabor at the line there. But I think as well, Spikey took 7th position away from Frank in the dying moments of the final lap there too. I think I saw a move around about turn number 8, so the penultimate corner. Spikey finds his way in 7th with Frank about a second behind, again struggling with the heat in those rear tyres, finishes 8th position. What a fantastic race that was, Pete.
That was excellent. I have to say I'm a bit surprised by how good that was. I hope everybody watching enjoyed that. If you did enjoy it, then stay where you are, because coming up in just a few moments we have a fully reverse grid race with the exact same thing. And considering how tight it got with everybody in qualifying order, I think we're in for a wow. I don't want to put my finger on it, but it could go one of two ways. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so the only driver that's not actually crossed the finish line is Michael from Master Race Cars, down in 19th classified. However, I think he's going to drop a few positions when he crosses the line. So I think there's 22 classified finishers. Just waiting for Michael, who takes a lot of the curb into turn number 9. And I don't know if he's going to land on his wheels. He doesn't, so he's not even going to be classified.
Was that him rolling in the back of shot?
It was indeed him rolling in the back of shot.
So he won't be classified.
If he'd just taken his time and made his way around turn 9 and crossed the start-finish line, he would have been on pole position for race number 2. Whereas unfortunately, because he's not qualified, he's going to slot onto the back of the grid after the classified finishers from race 1 get reversed. So you can see Race Green Autosports Red Bot finished down in P21 in race 1. He's going to start on pole for race number 2 alongside Yes Motorsports Trespasser. So after Trespasser set the pole lap and unfortunately jumped the start for race 1, served his stop-go penalty, again somehow finds his way on the front row.
Yeah, Michael's just thrown away a front row start, hasn't he?
He has indeed, unfortunately.
Wow. Yes, Motorsports Unite will start last, bar 1, because Michael will probably start there. Good win for him. Didn't really see much of him after the start. He kind of pulled a gap, and let's not forget that he's had a mixed bag of results recently, so I'm thinking he'll be very, very pleased to have just walked this race. Neva pretty close behind as well, it has to be said. The Energy Virtual Racing driver finishing P number 2. Kevin Pete never really had much dispute for P3, but he did get involved with that in that side-by-side incident with Rick Cardle slightly late on. So yeah, I think he got quite lucky with that contact because obviously Rick got shoved off and he dropped down to 9th and now he's back up to 6th. But anyway, Katrag with a great drive. I think that goes down as my driver of the race. In fact, there for Katrag, he came from quite a way down, and we saw 2 exquisite overtakes in 3 wide situations that were very clean from what I saw. So congrats to Katrag on a well-deserved P4 there. Yes Motorsports Gabor in P5. Rick Cardle has to settle for P6 on this occasion. Born to Race Spikey in P7. Team Up Racing's Frank lost a few positions in the last couple of laps to finish P8. Kaike Parapo, likewise, he's down to P9. Jaban rounds out the top 10. Then it's Kaike's teammate, Arajo in P11. Kid finishes P12. Born to Race Twin P13. TJ P14. Magic P15 for Race Green. Then World Class Lions, Yari Katila and Team Wissoini in 16th and 17th. Team Up Racing Texas in 18th. TC Racing's Chris McElroy in P19. And Yes Motorsports Trespasser in P20. Red Bot for Royce Green Autosports, our final finisher, and Michael somewhere in the gravel off by the last corner.
So ladies and gentlemen, look at that position list on the left of your stream. Reverse that. So look at that. Red Bot on pole position. Trespasser alongside him on the front row. Chris McElroy, TC Racing, on the second row in P number 3. Texas will start in P4. Stoini in P5. Still at P6. Magic for Race Green Autosport in P7. DJ for Road Appraisers P8. Born to Races Twin in P9 and Kid in P10. And I'm just reading the chat during your little result read out there, Pete, and all the guys in chat. Unfortunately, the stream can't see, cracking me up. So I'm definitely wrong when I say that I'm surprised why nobody drives this car, because all the drivers absolutely hate the way that this car handles. Michael, obviously, a bit upset that he rolled and unfortunately didn't classify for race 1 and lost out on that pole start for race number 2. He says whoever designed the RAC should be beaten. And I can't read the rest of the sentence because I'd get us banned from Twitch, but definitely not happy there. Yes, Motorsport United says no anti-roll bar in the rear, can do that. And he's obviously happy with the way his car feels, because set the fastest lap and drove away from the rest of the field there in race number 1. But he's got his work cut out for race number 2, starting from the very back, apart from Michael, who unfortunately rolled it and didn't classify. So we'll be back in just a second when race 2 gets underway. You'll not want to miss this one, so don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome back to round 27 of the Team Up Racing 2020 Championship. We're about to get underway for the reverse grid race. Jack, do you want to take us away for the start?
Yeah, it looks as though the guys that were going to be tagged onto the back that didn't classify have been gifted a front row start. So, Lacko pitted, he's jumped back out. He was on pole, but Michael's been gifted a pole position start after being so mad at the car. So, lights out and away we go. Let's get going. Michael's still in the lead. A great start. He's pulling away from Redbot, who's under pressure from Trespasser at the moment in the battle for P number 2 as we run down into turn number 1. The first time in race number 2. It's going to be latest on the brakes, of course. These guys still got cold tyres. We might see a few being caught out by that. We saw in race 1 a few struggling through turn number 1. on cold tyres, and Trespasser looks like he's got the inside line. If he can carry the momentum, he's going to almost be alongside Michael as we run into turn number 2. The slight kink to the right here, still side by side with Redbot, but he could challenge for the lead again into turn number 4. The turn of well, the kink left here is turn number 3, and don't want to catch yourself out by braking too late. And there's a big collision in the background now.
Yeah, Rick's had trouble. Rick's dropped down to P23. It's all gone wrong. Yeah, Gabor, heavy
also,
front damage there.
He's going to struggle with that car now.
Well, Trespasser's taken over the lead of this race, Jack, and I don't think anybody's going to challenge him. Everyone else who was at his sort of pace in qualifying is all the way down the order. So if Trespasser plays his cards right, this is his race to lose. He's already got a massive gap over Master Race Cars Michael, who's under threat from TJ. TJ driving for Road Appraiser, of course.
Yeah, keep an eye on Texas, though, in P number 4. He's got the momentum to pass both of these cars. He's going to thread the needle.
Ooh.
Chooses not to make it through right at the last minute, but Michael's suffering, trying to get that rear in check. You can see it stepping out, and these guys are doing 200 kilometers at this point, and TJ running very wide.
Yeah.
Texas up into P number 2. Michael retains P number 3, but Kid and Yari Katilla are still side by side as TJ and Frank.
Frank's had a good start.
He has indeed, to find his way up into P6 so far, but TJ's lost out, trying to go too wide into the chicane of 9 and caught Gavin Pete and Getrag on the way out, but Kaike Paroppo on the outside now.
Hang on, Jack. Getrag finished the last race in P4, and he's up to P10 already. So that's a great start.
Brilliant start from him then.
Ooh,
we're 4 wide now. Gavin Pete, Harry Catilla's very slow. Getrag didn't lift out of it, kept the throttle pinned, just got the lock on and managed to avoid that yellow and black world-class Lions cars. Again, there's a couple cars too wide for P2, for P3 and so on. Again, a gaggle of cars now. Texas on the outside. TJ making his way through. Frank making his way through. Kaike Paroppo making his way through. Texas dropping down the order. Getrag almost pushing him along at this point now. You can see the white and green car of Getrag there.
Yeah, well, we're riding on board with Getrag. He's doing an absolutely amazing job here. He needs to...
He's under attack from Gavin Pete. Keep an eye on the left, though. Oh, there's contact between the two, and he moved out.
Gavin! Oh, no!
Collects Frank and TJ. Massive contact between these two.
Absolute passenger there. He was on the grass, and when you put the brakes on in this car, it's just never going to slow down. Did he T-bone his teammate there?
I think so. That was unfortunate. I don't think Getrag knew that he was as close as he was, and when Getrag tried to pull out of the draft, have a look on the inside of, I think it was Texas he was attacking, he just caught Gavin Pete, and of course Gavin Pete locked up onto the grass. Nothing that he could have done about that. Absolute passenger at that point. Unfortunately, collected a car or
his
two
teammate,
and a teammate along with it. Getrag still nice up into 4th position, so he's where he finished last time around. I think the best he can do at the moment is probably up to P number 2 as Texas goes very deep into turn number 8, and he's going to lose out to
he's about to lose out to our previous race winner. Unite is up to P number 9, and he's going to try and he was thinking about it. He thought about it.
Still not over. He's still thinking about it as he's trying to reluctantly wait to get onto the power out of the chicane of turn number 9, but Texas being mugged by both the Energy Virtual Racing cars, and across the start-finish he's going to be classified as behind Yes Motorsport Unite, as Yes Motorsport's Trespasser out in the race lead sets the fastest lap of the race, a 2:21, so around about half a second, a bit more away from his qualifying time, but it's not over between Yes Motorsport Unite and Texas. They're almost side by side again as we enter turn number 1, and side by side behind them too are Yari Katilla and Gavin Pete, who's going to come out on top of this. They're going to have to again filter into single file if they want to get the most out of the track up to turn number 4, the harsh braking zone where Gavin Pete unfortunately got knocked into the grass and locked up. He's managed to bounce back from this, finds himself in P9, taking 9th away from Yari Katilla. But he's got his teammate for company now when he catches up to Texas and Unite. But Katilla looking to the inside. They're all having a look. Magic into the back of Katilla there.
Well, it's good that he braked there.
Got away with it.
Oh, but Elmo having a bit of contact with Twin Cam there, forcing Twin Cam onto the grass. Thinks about making it 3 wide. Doesn't.
Rick Cardle's there though. He's going to capitalise on this. Can he thread the needle with 3 wide again? Rickardle has to lift a little bit. He's going to time his run hopefully up into turn 8 to try and pounce on both of the cars ahead of him.
I can't help but thinking that Gavin Peat has been very, very lucky in the last in the last two races, with getting into little incidents and not really suffering as a result. Obviously, not ideal to be involved at all, but yeah, here comes Rickardle, Jack.
Yeah, Ricardo lifted a little bit on the second apex of turn 7. I don't know if you can hear that. He would have been further alongside Twin, but he's got the move made, and with Elmo running a little wide away from the apex, of course he's able to carry a bit more speed through the corner and have the inside line for turn 9, but you can see just how fast Ricardo was, just being on the inside line, taking the obviously optimum line. The further from the apex you are, the longer the drive is, but Magic and Frank just ahead of these two, you can see. That yellow car of Magic for Race Green Autosports massively on the curb through 9. Him and Frank and Elmo and Ricardo all side by side across the line. But Neva's gone purple in split 1 last time around, so one to look out for. He currently holds the fastest sector of anybody in sector 1, but Trespasser out in the lead again. Best sector 2 and best lap overall out in the lead now. He's got 5.5 seconds to Kid in P2 while all this racing's going on in the background. He'll be rubbing his hands together, he'll be loving this.
Look at the battle between Marcelo, Neva, Getrag and Master Race Cars Michael. They were 3 wide once again. Getrag seems to be able to get himself into 3 wide situations all the time at this point. And yeah, there we go again. Oh, that could have ended badly.
Between the two. Yeah, Neva probably wanted to stay
Michael.
to the left, but Michael's been span around with the contact. Hopefully he's able to recover and not lose out on too many positions, but
it's all over.
He's always in the battles, but he seems to, I don't know, at least for race 1 he avoided it. Race number 2, a bit of contact with Gavin Peat, who is only a couple seconds behind now at this point. He's catching back up. He's behind Kaike Propo, who's making a move on Yes Unite for P6. Again, we run up through the double right-hander, turn 6 and 7. These two are going to be too wide. Keep an eye on Gavin Peat in the background. He's going to love this.
Yeah, he's going to have a run, isn't he?
It's going to be 3 wide. He had to check up just a bit.
Is he forcing the gap? He needs to be a bit more careful. He's had too many incidents in these 2 races, really. But yeah, it's not stopping him from getting stuck in, is it?
Yeah, Gavin getting stuck in, at least where Kaike Propo is concerned. Propo struggling with the tyres late on in the race, in the first race. We're on lap 4 of 10 now, so this is about where everybody's tyres who at least were suffering, and there's a crash ahead. It's Getrag and Neva. I saw some tyres being shifted about on the apex of 9 there as we cross the line. A massive jostle for position. Getrag down in P7. He's going to be caught by Texas Catilla. And not quite Frank. Frank's a bit far back, but keep an eye on Getrag. Texas and Yari Catilla both closing up to the back of him. As Neva unfortunately has a bit of an issue and disconnects from the server.
Apologies for the slight stream glitch there. We are back. Yeah, so we're watching Kid, who is currently running around in P number 3. Not quite sure how that happened, but anyway, he's still in the mix. He's following Yes Unite, our previous race winner, who's made his way all the way back up from the back of the grid to be in P2. What an absolute monumental effort that is.
Keep an eye on Gavin Peat though. He's looking at the inside. He wants to mug both of these guys and find himself on the podium, because these two are battling for second position at the end of the day. Gavin Peat slightly, I don't know if it's his second gear ratio that maybe hindered him there, but the low revs meant that he had to wait a bit longer for the turbo pressure to build up in these cars. He's lost out to Kid a little bit, and you can see Unite driving away from the pair of them up ahead in second place. But this is the battle for the last spot on the podium. As of now,
more contact for Gavin Peat. Needs to leave a bit more room than that.
He does, but again, everybody I've seen, at least on the right there, has been up on that curb, and Kid was just a bit on the tarmac. Of course, he's entitled to do that, but you're not going to run side by side if you don't allow yourself to at least leave room for your competitor. But Getrag, he's just in the background of the shot there. In the white and green car, he's going to be waiting for these guys to battle a bit more, and so he can catch up to the back. Kaike Propo is in the middle of this.
Yeah, he's following Kid, and they're going to be side by side across the line.
Hopefully he's adjusted his setup. Like I said, he was suffering with really hot inside rears. Last time around, that was hindering him getting on the power for the last couple of laps, and he lost about 4 or 5 seconds in a couple of positions.
Well, he's managed to get past Kid for now. Whether Kid can retaliate, we will see in turn one. But it looks like Kaike's got the deal sealed. But I can still see a lot of smoke coming off that front axle there, Jack. So I don't think he's adjusted his setup between race 1 and race 2.
Yeah, the insides of his rears looking at least rusty, and the front right I think is the one that he's locking up. Of course, still might be a bit too hard on the brakes as he's trying to get the lock on when you turn into the corner. But we've lost Neva from this race. I think we've lost Lacko from this race. Spikey's also disconnected from the race.
Yeah,
We
look
are
at
down a
Kaike there
few cars.
locking that front left hugely, and contact with Getrag, and he's off on the grass. So that's gone from bad to worse. All as a result of just not being able to get the car slowed down at all into the first hairpin. And wow, it looks like he's struggling with more than just his brakes with that car right now.
Yeah, so of
Yep.
course, in Live for Speed you can adjust really every parameter that's available to be adjusted on a car as it would be in real life. You can change all the gear ratios, everything, all the suspension components, and I think he's just not got the brake pressure and or the brake bias set where it needs to be for a 10-lap race, and he's cooking those tyres. You can see him struggling in 6th position at the moment. He's going to be hunted down by Team Rock Racing's Frank in the red and white car. Just in the background, a shot, you can see his teammate Rick Cardle and Texas both fighting it out.
Yeah, Rick's managed to make a move there on Texas. Texas ran very deep again. Second time we've seen that in this race.
He's almost side by side with Jari Katila
Oh,
now.
and Frank! Side by side, that was late.
That was
was
incredibly
contact.
late. You can see how much Kaike Proppers had to check up, but we've
that's
lost Jari
Jari
Katila in the
Katila.
background there. You can see him just getting a bit too much oversteer on the rear, and without that anti-roll bar, it's quite hard to regain control as he now unfortunately loses out to his teammate and finds himself down in P16.
Side by side, Rick Cardle and Kaike Paroppo as Unite takes the fastest lap of the race as he tries to close down his teammate in the last 4 laps of this race. We're on lap 7 already, Jack. Side by side they still go. Rick Cardle very late on the brakes. That was a mega braking there, and yeah, he's managed to stay ahead.
I think Propo is again still struggling with the brakes on this car. You can see just how much earlier he needed to brake. He didn't really get on the power any earlier to compensate for that. Ricardo's probably pulled about half a second on him since the move was made at the apex of turn number 1. But Ricardo definitely has the pace to catch back up to Frank. Getrag's right on the back of Kid now in the battle for 4th position, but runs a bit wide. You can see just how wide he is there.
Kid holding his own right now in P4. This is a good result for him. He's got good track for company though, and we know how quick he is. He finished the last race in P4, started down in what would have been around 19th, 18th place, and he's already up to P5.
Yeah, but look at Gavin Pete though. When Getrag moved across earlier and pushed Gavin Pete onto the grass, Gavin Pete lost a handful of positions, and he's found his way up in the podium positions once again and in front of Getrag. So an incredible drive from the Team Rock Racing driver who is on the last step of the podium at the moment as these two for 4th position are still battling it out. Kid will be on the inside, but Getrag arguably would be the one you'd put your money on. He's of course on the outside, chooses to brake and try to switch back, and he gets the power on. Kid runs onto the grass, and you can see that's paid off for him. Doesn't have to worry about navigating through turn 9 too wide this time around. He needs to get his head down now. Does Getrag catch up to the back of Gavin Pete and try and get himself on the back of the podium there?
Yeah, we're looking on the rear view cam of Gavin Pete's car, and that's what Getrag's got to do. He's got to make up that much time in 3 laps. Whether that's possible, I don't know, but we'll keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, I think... sorry, just to finish this point, I think Trespasser has got this in the bag unless he makes an error. He's already out of T1, and Unite is just braking for the entry. Back to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say the gap between Gavin Pete and Getrag at the line was just over 2 seconds, and with 3 laps remaining, he's got his work cut out. Unite and Trespasser again separated by about 6.5 seconds, but yes, Unite in P number 2, the fastest man and the race winner in the first race, is about a second a lap faster than his teammate out in the lead, but there's just not enough laps for him to close that gap and make the move, because what catching up is one thing, getting in front and staying in front is a whole other thing.
Yeah, Kaike again not able to slow the car down, but it looks like we've got a battle still happening ahead. as Kid is now was just overtaken by Frank, so he just missed that little fight there. Frank
Yeah,
up to
Kid
P5.
Kid falling into the clutches of the midfield now. He's going to be under pressure from Rick Cardle as we run around turn 6 and 7 up the hill into 8. Rick Cardle, arguably the man you'd say has made the most moves on people up at turn number 8. He just seems to be able to carry so much speed through turn 6 and 7. A little bit of lift on the way in, of course, accounting for the draft. It won't give you all the front end grip that you have. And really, the front end grip's the only grip this car has, because he's going to be on the outside for the cambered right-hander of turn number 8. But Kid's struggling with locking either the front or the rear axles, depending on what time of day it is. He's not having fun and now finds himself under pressure from Kaike Parapo. He's going to be down in 8th position, as Kid, if he can't do something about keeping his tyres and the brake pedal in check. As
Oh,
he
as Kid
cuts the
runs straight on.
chicane.
And Frank's had an issue, and Rick Cardle's been gifted 5th place. Frank's been passed by Kaike as well. And yeah, that's a disaster for Frank there as he exited the final chicane of the lap. Let's focus our attention on Texas and Kid though, and see. Yeah, Kid's already passed.
Yeah, you can see Kid, unfortunately, suffering from the issue he had at turn 9 going straight on. Texas for Team Rock Racing was able to mug him in a straight line, but the slipstream Kid gained from having Texas right ahead of him has given him the momentum to get alongside and at least in front for now at turn 1. If he can't get that car back in check and get the traction down, you can see Texas on the inside line, on the exit at least. They're going to be side by side through the kink of 2 now, up the hill. Again, Kid with a little bit more momentum. There's contact between the two. You've got to account for this, guys. Come on, you can see each other. Who's going to be later on the brakes into turn number 4 now? The left-hander, Texas, with the overlap. Doesn't quite hit the apex where he wants to, but has the position nonetheless. And now we have the very sharp, slow right-hander of turn 5, which is all about the traction on the exit. You need as much speed as you can coming out of 5, because it's a long run now through 6 and 7 up to the right-hander of turn number 8. I think Kid's going to have the draft
Yeah,
anytime he's run correctly.
Texas went defensive there just to try and get out of the draft, and yeah, once again Kid not able to get the run. Let's see what he does up towards turn number 8. Ooh!
Texas all out of shape there with the rear trying to step away from him as the track levels out. Hit up the inside through turn number 8. Both managing to hit the apex. Slight bit of contact as Texas tried to turn his car in, but Kid has the position. These two racing very, very aggressively. And of course, we're about to start the very final lap of race number 2. And I'm really surprised that Yes Motorsport Unite has managed to make his way up into P2.
Yeah, that's
And he's
impressive.
brought the gap from 6.5 down to 4.8. So still consistently lapping about 8 to a full second faster. Sorry, 8 tenths to a full second faster than his teammate out in the lead. He set the fastest lap a few times, improving, of course, on his prior best every other lap, really.
That's a super effort from Unite, and don't forget that Gavin Peets also managed to get his way through the traffic, and so has Getrag and Rick Cardle, making their way through all the chaos that's ensued in this second race, as we usually see. But it's been a great race so far. We're on the final lap. We're watching Getrag with that front right damage that he picked up earlier in the race. He's still chasing down that final podium place.
Yeah. He's not letting that damage hinder him by any means. Getrag last time around a 2-minute dead, and Gavin Peet a 2-minute 1 dead, so a second faster is Getrag than Gavin Peet last time around. And the gap at the last split, at least a few corners ago, was about 0.96 of a second. So if Getrag can eke a little bit more performance out of that car, and potentially if Gavin Peet's struggling any more this lap with the heat in his tyres, there might be a move on in the final corners.
Yeah,
he's a little bit too far back,
a long way to basically nothing, but I think it's a little bit too little, too late.
We'll see just how close he can get. However, Trespasser navigating his way out of turn number 8 now through turn number 9. He'll be happy with the result now. Regrettably, he wanted this result in race number 1, but he's got it in race number 2. Trespasser, the pole sitter, fastest in qualifying, takes the checkered flag for race 2. of round 27 of the Team Rock Racing Championship here at Aston National in the RACs. Will be very happy with that. Yes Motorsport Unite, his teammate on the second step of the podium, takes the fastest lap in the race while he's at it. Of course, the fastest lap in race number 1, and Yes Motorsport Unite in P2 are race 1 winner. So very, very good day for the Yes Motorsport guys. Kevin Peake for Team Rock Racing crosses the line in third position, around about 10 seconds down on the lead. Getrag not able to get as close to Gavin Peake in P4 as he'd like. He's about 7/10 down at the line. Ricardo for Sidus Racing in P5. K Proper for Energy Virtual Racing P number 6. Team Rock Racing's Frank in P7. Kid, after having quite a confident run up at the front of the pack, just found himself filtering down the order and ultimately ended up in P number 8. Team Rock Racing's Texas in P9. Race Green Autosports Redbot in P10. PC Racing's Chris McElroy in P11. Energy Virtual Racing's is that Arujo in P12. Japan for Team Rock Racing in P13. Magic the Race Green Autosports in P14. The World Class Lions duo of Soini and Yari Katila in P15 and 16 respectively. Born to Race's twin, after finding himself right at the very front of the grid at the start of race number 2, finishes 41 seconds off the lead down in P17 and
70.
Simjintas in P18 with Master Race Cars Michael in P19 after having been gifted at least a front row start for race 2 after being so disappointed he didn't classify in race number 1.
Well, at least he had a bit of fun, and he got the pole position he was after in race 2. Um, that was a great evening of racing, I have to say. If you've been watching and you agree and you want to get involved, then you've been watching the Team Rock Racing 2020 Championship. There's still plenty of rounds left throughout the year. This is a 44-round championship with prize money at the end, and you can get signed up on the LFS forum in the Team Rock Racing Championship subsection.
If you're new to LFS and you're not sure how the forum works, feel free to just click on our calendar in the description of either the YouTube video you're watching this on or the live Twitch chat that you're seeing. There'll be links to the series website in our calendar so you can get to the correct area a little easier. But of course, we'd like to see everybody get involved in this. And of course, thank you for everybody joining us today. See the same familiar faces in chat every week, or every broadcast, should I say. You know, there's a couple a week. We do. What a race. What a couple of races that we've seen today, Pete. It's been fantastic.
It has been, as you said, Jack, and yeah, not forgetting that we do have um, we've got a few races coming up that are going to be interesting. Next week's Team Up Racing 2020 Championship comes from um, Aston again, Aston
Yeah.
2, Aston Club in the MRT. So that's going to be a fun one. No reverse in that car, a little Formula student car around
I
a.
think that's round 29, actually. I think next week,
Oh,
round
sorry.
28, South City,
Yes, you're right.
City long reverse.
Jumped the
Of
gun a
course,
bit there.
Aston will be the week after that. Of
Yeah.
course, that is still coming up. But the next round, round number 28, next week, same time, 2 11-lap races in the UFR around South City, City long reverse. Should be quite fun. Again, a massive change of scenery and a change of machinery as well. So again, throughout the series, there'll be combinations of track and car that will suit really every driver, from classic mini racing to Formula One to rallycross. We've even had there's a plethora of different combinations of track and car within Live for Speed, and of course, if you want to get involved, you know exactly what to do.
Indeed. Not this weekend. Next weekend, we have the Open Endurance Cup second round coming from West Hill International. That's in the LRF and NGT classes. 21 NGT signups and 5 LRF signups currently. So if you fancy driving the XFR and UFR, then you'll have plenty of company. And if you fancy driving the LX6 RAC or FZ5 in that championship, then yeah, you'll be helping us boost the grid a little bit for that event, which we're really looking forward to. Round 1 was great, even with the smaller grid size. Yeah, we're looking forward to that immensely. So you can find out about that on the LFS forum as well in the Open Endurance Cup sub forum. Um, Just a note to all drivers who are watching or competing in streams that Sim Broadcasts are presenting. You are welcome to join our TeamSpeak channel for interviews post or mid-race at ts.simbroadcasts.tv. It doesn't look like
And in
anybody's come to talk to us right now, Jack. So yeah, how about we summarise our race today?
where to start, really. We saw a very, very good qualifying session, of course, with the top three separated by only a couple hundredths of a second, and a 2 minute lap time and a couple hundredths of a second separating three drivers is quite a feat. Never fails to impress how close these guys actually are. But race one was pretty clean, of course. The sharp end of the grid was where all the fast guys were, but we still saw our fair share of action. Drag, you know, shining really in that race, just taking advantage of all the action going on around him and made his way up to P4. Again, with the reverse grid for race number two, meant all the faster guys were right at the very back of the grid. And for Yes Motorsport Unite to take win in race number one and come through the field to finish second in race number two was an absolutely incredible drive from him. I'm sure he's very happy with that. But yeah, we saw a fair share of action in race number two as well. A bit more messy, so to speak, but I think at least it was as fair as it could have been. These guys, of course, race door to door, week in, week out. They all know each other very well, and there's no hard feelings between anybody on the grid. It's always great every week.
Yeah, another great race, a very popular track, not such a popular car, but they did a good job and they put on a heck of a show in race one, and race two was fun as well. If you enjoyed our broadcast tonight, please consider following and subscribing to our Twitch channel. We're also on YouTube at Sim Broadcasts and also at the same handle on Twitter and Facebook if you want to follow us there for when we go live for our races. You'll also notice that on the Live for Speed forum homepage, there's now a banner which shows you when we go live as well, which is very nice indeed. Just before this round, we did get the updated championship standings for the Team Up Racing 2020 Championship, and obviously this race with standing Jan Wikowski, Jaban currently leads the Drivers' Championship. Gavin Peat P2, Rick Cardle P3, Nika Pontola P4, and Michael Malek is in P5, ladies and gents. Yes, Motorsports were currently leading the Teams Championship with Team Rock Racing in P2, World Class Lions P3, Race Green Autosports P4, and Master Race Car in P5. Full championship standings can be found on the Live for Speed forum. We've got plenty of rounds to go, so it could all change again. Jack, do you have anything final to say before we wrap up this evening's broadcast?
Not really. Just the fact that I'm surprised that the racing was, of course, like you said, as close as it was, given the car and track combination. Of course, not very many people enjoy driving the RAC, but it makes for some great racing, wouldn't you say?
I would indeed, and we can't wait to do it again next week. Join us next week, next Tuesday, the 14th of July, from 7 o'clock UTC for another round of the Team Up Racing 2020 Championship, round 28 from South City Long in the UFR. It's going to be a great one. Don't miss it. Have a great evening. See you later. Good night.
Take care.